Hello guys. It's been a minute since Fenn recommends. I'm doing a little 8 episode run here to for spooky season of Halloween and whatnot. I'm gonna do it by reviewing the all the Alien movies. Typically I do them as one video in some cases, but this is one of those cases where I'm not gonna do that because I saw Romulus, and that's gonna fall under movie theater reviews. And I thought about just doing that right then and there, and then doing the movies, but I feel like it would hurt the Romulus review because I would be talking about a lot of stuff that I'm gonna talk about in these movies. So I'm just gonna release the Romulus review probably very shortly after I talk about Covenant. So so yeah, we're gonna kick things off with Alien, the first of them. Now, this is one of those big franchises I haven't seen until like a week or so ago. It's just one of those things I just kept putting off because I was just like, oh, it's Aliens. And so, but but as expected, this is a classic, of course. This one came out in 1979. It's rated R. It's an hour 57 long. It has an 8.5 out of 10 on IMDb without 976,000-ish user votes. It has 89% on Metacritic with 300 critics. It's directed by Ridley Scott, who also did the Gladiator movies. It stars Sojourner Weaver, who was in Ghostbusters, and Tom Skerritt, who was also in Top Gun. Let's see. On Rotten Tomatoes here, it has 93% by critics with 203 critics. It's certified fresh and 94% by audience with a 250,000 ish audience people. The critics' consensus is a modern classic. Alien blends science fiction, horror, and bleak poetry into a seamless whole. So that's what they have to say. The movie is streaming right now. It's available to stream on Hulu and also into various bundles as well. Let's see. It's a cinema. I guess Fandango's doing something with cinema. I don't know. It's available to rent and buy on Amazon, Apple TV, and Microsoft Store. And the movie was released on DVD in 2004. So what can I say about this movie? I mean, like it's such a good movie. You know what? When I watch these films, the more I thought about it, the Predator movies are very inverse of the Alien movies. Also, I should say this on a side note. I will not be talking about the Alien versus Predator movies. I did not watch those. Because they aren't considered canon at all and they're shit movies, so I don't even want to bother my time try to squeeze that in with all the rest of the stuff. Um, what was I? But yeah, like this is just such an interesting movie. But it's such an interesting inverse of stuff because I gotta be honest, and this is something I'm gonna talk about here. The alien creatures themselves are interesting, but in terms of how they kill and how they hunt and stuff, they all kind of do the same stuff. There's not a lot of creativity in that regard necessarily. Um, while the Predator stuff is. Now, here's the thing though. The alien universe, like the worlds and the universe and the characters surrounding the alien creatures is very, very, very interesting. At least to me. While with the Predator movies, the creatures themselves are super, super interesting, but the world it's fine, you know. These movies are awesome. Well, not all of them. We'll get to that when we do. But this one's awesome. Um, this film, you know what? And I'm gonna also say this. I am gonna be a little. I am gonna touch on spoilers a little bit in these reviews because this franchise is very universe build heavy, and some movies bring foundation to it, and some bring other things to it, and they really need to be talked about. They really do. So that's something to keep in mind as we look into these movies. As for this one's just perfection. Like, I don't know what I could say about this movie. Um, Cinematography's fantastic, music's great, special effects are great. Light on the gore, surprisingly enough. Like, don't keep in mind, the movie has violence in it, but everything's done with quick cuts. And also, I'm going to be a little bit on the spoiler side of things because most people have already seen these movies who are into these movies. If you're just diving these films for the first time, watch them first and then watch these. Um, but yeah, it's just the bleakness is there, the soundtrack, the cinematography, the acting, the characters, the story, just everything is just so well written and paced. Seamless is a perfect way to describe this movie. It's seamless. Like, it's just really so well put together. I think the only thing about this movie to keep in mind is and they're not so much negatives, it's just something you might not anticipate. Um gore the gore is kind of quick cut a little bit, except for one big memorable scene. That I won't say here, but I might talk about in the other reviews. Um And I do know that the reason why they were kind of quick cutty with the other violent aspects of the movies because they were afraid it will overshadow that big scene, and they didn't want that. So that's why they did what they did. But that doesn't bother me as much. But despite all that, man, not only is this a great movie, but after you watch all these movies and you think back to the first movie, you think to yourself, man, that kickstarted so much. um, but yeah, overall, this is just really good. Like, I don't know what I could say about it. There's not much I could add to about this movie. Like, it's definitely something you definitely have to see for yourself. Now, I will say this. I will say this. It's definitely a sci-fi horror movie that is definitely, and that's another thing. This movie, this is also, it's kind of weird that this movie establishes a lot of stuff that you think is going to be a big thing in the movie, but it's not quite in this one, but it is later in later movies. And it's kind of weird they would do that stuff kind of in this movie, but it kind of makes sense too because they are also establishing how dangerous the creature is. So there is a lot of stuff in that regard in this movie that they keep in mind there. I think the only, and yeah, it's because when you watch these in order, you're just like, yeah, that's that. They'll touch on that later or whatever. But when you really think about it, you realize, you know what? They didn't pre-plan these movies. Not really, especially the older ones. I mean, they were just like, oh, Alien, that's it. So when they talk and say about these things, like the intention of actually like go doing more with some of those things, it wasn't really there. It was just stuff to kind of establish the other things. But but yeah, it's just kind of funny with a movie like this with such a lore and franchise that when it started, it was just kind of like, yeah, these things. um but yeah, overall, it's just a really, it's a classic. It's 5 stars. I mean, when you think of sci-fi horror, this is kind of the first of its kind, really. I mean, I'm sure there was other sci-fi horror movies before this, of course, like with the big sci-fi boom of the 50s and whatever, but in terms of like literally like people who watched this in theaters back when it came out, people were literally like the intensity and everything made them sick. Like, it was kind of exorcist levels of sickiness going on with the people who watched this movie in theaters for the first time. So it's just something to keep in mind that this is just not like this isn't just like a really good horror movie or just something that just was the first of something. This was just instant classic. And it's held up super well today. Like, I don't really. Now that I think about it, there's not really a lot in this movie where I think, oh yeah, that doesn't hold up, or that's that. This is kind of a timeless movie in that regard. It really is. Especially when you watch something like Romulus and you're just like, oh wow, this it's it's kind of similar with those things. So, but yeah, really good movie. Highly recommend for sure. Yeah. Next up, we're gonna talk about Aliens. One of my Aliens, and that's gonna be a fun one to talk about. But yeah, guys, that's gonna do it for this specific video here, though, guys. Thanks for watching. In case you guys want to chat with anyone at the Campy Company you didn't want to use the YouTube comment section, we do have a couple options. First one is we have a Discord channel. You can find a link down in the About page / About section of our channel. We also have a community tab on our channel as well. You can access that anywhere at any time. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the videos, and have a good day.